Vision. Welcome to Inside and Outside Sports with America's #1 handicapper, Mike Warren. Here's your host, Pat O'Malley.
Hello again, everybody. This week on Inside and Outside Sports, we're going to have many more picks from Mike Warren, America's #1 handicapper. And I want to warn you at the start, if you think my voice sounds a little bit funny, do not adjust your audio on your TV set. It is my voice. I've got a problem. I've got a cold. Millions of Americans have the same problem. I'm no different than anybody else, right? This guy's different than everybody else, but I'm not. And I do have a cold problem, so please bear with me during the course of the show, and I'll appreciate it. Next week, my voice will be back, and then I'll be dangerous. Mike now is 43 and 15 overall in the show, 74%, which is a staggering percentage. And last week, what a pick did he give you from Gulfstream Park? He gave you a long shot, key to the moon, that paid $24. And we'll be talking about that. And Mike has a lot of basketball picks and a very special guest this week, Tom McMillen of the Bullets. Of all this and more, right after this. Over the years, Mike Warren has busted many Las Vegas bookies with his money-winning picks. Winning should be a celebration, so Mike has created now these special Bookie Buster T-shirts, which Mike wants to give you absolutely free. All you have to do is call 1-800-638-6890, and Mike will send you a free Bookie Busters T-shirt, without Kim, of course. The T-shirt is free, and so is the call, so act now. Call 1-800-638-6890.
If you watch basketball on television and love the game the way I do, you want to join the Mike Warren TV Basketball Club. As a club member, you get the key picks in the hottest TV basketball games every week and other special bonuses. I've been winning on over 80% of my TV picks. Let me prove it to you. Call now, and I'll give you absolutely free my pick in the game between Notre Dame and UCLA that goes this Sunday. Call 1-800-638-6890. It's a free pick and a free call, so act right now. 1-800-638-6890.
Now, I warned you my voice was a little bit different this week and not to worry about adjusting the audio on your TV set. Did you notice anything different about Mike this week? If you didn't, you better adjust your TV set. What the hell's a Hoya? What the hell is a Hoya?
A Hoya is a girl I went out with last week. No, really, a Hoya was #1 last week, and now it's #2. That's a nickname of Georgetown, the Hoyas, Georgetown Hoyas, and they're in trouble.
Okay. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Mike, that what a pick you had made last week from Gulfstream Park. You gave the long shot, key to the moon, paying $24, and it was actually $23.60.
Yeah, we were 40 cents short. It was really $23.60, but we also gave it the horse that ran second. The exacta paid $61.20, and everybody down in Gulfstream Park who bet $20 or more got back at least $612, so a lot of fans are happy down in Gulfstream Park.
Mike, it seems that the Florida State Supreme Court, and I guess the politicians in Florida State, have decided that there's not going to be Sunday racing in that state. What are your feelings about that?
I think what they said was they felt it was bad for morality. It would make the people who would play on Sunday less moral. But I don't know what about the people who live in California and New York, because they have Sunday racing. Do the people in Florida think the people in California and New York are less moral than they are? It's preposterous, I think.
Yeah, they say that leads to immoral acts. Give us a break, man. Nearly $100 million could be generated in Florida with Sunday racing. And of course, it's being appealed now in the U.S. Supreme Court. Did you hear the story on John Riggins attending a black tie dinner in Washington last week, and the Redskins fullback happened to fall asleep?
Where was that?
And nearly passed out. It was with Vice President Bush and several other members of Congress.
Well, they're boring.
It was at the Washington Press Club's annual Salute to Congress dinner, and he was seated at a head table with Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, and he kept saying to her, "Hey, Sandy, baby, why don't you loosen up?" And finally, he loosened up and passed out. Can you believe that?
I believe it.
Okay.
Riggins is gone.
He's a piece of work.
He's a piece of work.
They say he may retire after this year. Maybe that was an indication that he is definitely going to.
Is that right?
Let's get to our basketball picks. Our first basketball pick this week is going to be on Georgia Tech at Maryland. This is always a very interesting game in that Maryland seems to be snake-bitten when they play the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I think for the last 3 years they played 5 times, and Georgia Tech has covered the spread. I think they're 5-1. Actually, they are 5-1 against Maryland. In this game here, I'm going to make Maryland at home against Georgia Tech a 4-point favorite. I'm going to take Georgia Tech to upset Maryland at home. I like Georgia Tech as a good front line, good backcourt. Everybody scores. There's not really one player to defend against. I like Georgia Tech to upset them. They have Maryland's number. They're going to do it again this week.
Now, that's a pretty interesting pick because Maryland has been on a roll. Who do you see winning at ACC? I think you mentioned this before, but right now, after what's happened the last couple of weeks.
I'm still a Duke fan. I still think Duke's going to be there at the end.
Do you think Maryland has a shot?
Oh, absolutely. They're in first place right now, but everybody's close, and it's going to come down to who can win on the road, because normally those clubs can win at home.
Okay, DePaul at Louisville.
I think DePaul's a better club. You know, I think they have more manpower in the front court and the back court. I'm going to make DePaul a 3-point favorite at Louisville. You know, Denny Crum is great at home, but DePaul has more firepower. I'm going to take DePaul to win. They must win this game, DePaul, if they want to stay up there and go for the national title. DePaul's a 3-point favorite. I like them to win by at least 5 or 6 points.
It's pretty interesting to note how they have sort of tumbled in recent weeks. After all the big hoopla at the beginning of the season, everybody expected them to do so well.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up there week after week, but it really isn't in full force until the season really goes down the road a bit.
Okay, Mike, it's going to have many more basketball picks for you. We'll take a look at horse racing. But before we get to all those, next up, our special guest, Tom McMillen of the Washington Bullets.
Already over 2 million veterans have called to find out how this card can serve them exclusively. Hi, I'm Don Shula. If you're a veteran age 18 to 59 or the spouse or widow of a vet, write down this toll-free number, because one quick phone call can bring you all the facts about a plan that offers you a choice of 10, 20, up to $50,000 of term life benefits. $50,000 for under $10 a month. Since your spouse is also eligible, your total family protection can reach up to $100,000. All this at affordable veterans rates. In fact, you don't even have to take a medical exam. You'll also receive your own Veterans Life card embossed with your name. It's all absolutely free with no obligation. As a veteran, you owe it to yourself to get the facts about this important offer. So call now.
Veterans call 1-800-453-7100.
With us now, as promised, is NBA veteran Tom McMillen of the Washington Bullets. Tom has been in the NBA for some 10 seasons. He played with the Knicks and also the Atlanta Hawks before being traded to the Bullets, and spent some time in Italy playing professional basketball after graduating from the University of Maryland, where he was an All-American for Lefty Driesell. And he's the second leading scorer in Terps history. He was a member of the U.S. Olympic team back in 1972, I believe it was, and it was originally a first-round draft pick of the Buffalo Braves back in 1974. And recently, Tom was named NBA Player of the Week, Mike, for 7 brilliant games, 5 or 7 games in which the Bullets won when he just ran out of some people, right? And old Tom had to come out of off the pines and play.
And a Rhodes Scholar.
A Rhodes Scholar at one time, that's right, absolutely. Recently, in this stretch here where you were named NBA Player of the Week, Tom, what was you actually played more than you expected to play, I'm sure, before the season began.
Well, it was kind of unusual. We were so shortchanged by injuries, and it was an unusual position to come in and have to play a whole game. And I guess it's a vote for the senior citizen here. I'm out there. Me against the world, so to speak. But it was a great opportunity to play, and I'm delighted that we did so well. We had a great week.
It's funny you said senior citizen, because the way he was talking about you, I thought it was an obituary.
I know.
With the gray hair and everything. You're really not that old.
32.
32.
32.
And all this time now in the NBA, I know you've enjoyed it, but I'm sure after the NBA you've got some other ambitions, and I think those are on the political end.
Well, I'm very involved in politics and in business as well, and I've never really looked at basketball as fearing leaving basketball as a lot of players do. I'm looking forward with great anticipation life after basketball, and I don't know. I take it a year at a time, and this year's been particularly unusual because it's been very cyclical, playing a lot and then playing a little. But whatever role I'm called on to do in the NBA, I've tried to do it the best I could.
Owing to the long basketball season, in my opinion, I have to qualify this question for me. When do the basketball players, the pros, really start playing basketball?
Well, I think really after Christmas you'll see an improvement in general play. But the way the game is now is that you have such a lengthy preseason, a month, and then the season begins in November. So quality basketball is there all the way throughout. But if you really want the best, then you have to wait to the playoffs, because that's when the heat is really the highest.
And what do you think about a home team advantage? Do you think that it's important? I know in college it's extremely important, but in the pros, is that important when Washington's playing at home as compared to playing at Philadelphia or whatever?
It is important. I think it's more important with certain teams. You know, that crowd, the arena, it's kind of a sixth man in a lot of respects for certain teams, but also it works to some teams' disadvantage. You go to Cleveland, it's an empty arena, and certainly doesn't help them as much as going to Boston, where you have 13, 14, 15,000 screaming fans. So it's a hard thing to evaluate. You have to really evaluate it team by team in the NBA.
But Tom, you played for Lefty Driesell at the University of Maryland, and there's been the knock on him that he can't coach, he can only recruit. Well, what are your impressions of Lefty Driesell?
Well, Lefty Driesell can recruit, there's no question about that, but I think he can coach as well. I remember playing for him, and I've yet to play for the perfect coach in basketball, but Lefty was a good coach. He may not be #1, but a lot of people don't remember what Maryland had before he was coach. I mean, I remember because my brother played there, and they were in the doldrums. Lefty took them out of the doldrums and brought them a successful program. He didn't do that only with just good players. He's an accomplished coach, and I think he's improved as a coach, and hopefully someday a national championship will be within sight for him.
Speaking of Maryland, what do you think of Lenny Bias?
I think Lenny Bias is he's a pro kind of college player, if you understand what I mean. He's got all the physical talents. He jumps very well. He's got a pretty good shot. The only thing I worry about Lenny is that he may be a transitional player. Is he a small forward or is he a big forward? Can he handle the ball well enough to be a small forward, or is he big enough to be a big forward? And that's going to be something that I think he'll have to find out when he gets in the pros. So.
Bias just said the other day that he intends to graduate. He wants to get his degree first, that his family is doing well financially. He doesn't have to declare hardship and leave school early. So, as far as the pro game is concerned, Tom, we were talking before we went on air about all the elbows and all some of the rough stuff that goes underneath. You have to know how to do a little bit of that to stay in the game, don't you?
Well, I think it's controlled aggression. I knew one of the knocks against me when I played at Maryland was that I wasn't aggressive enough. So when I got into the pros, I decided that I would become more aggressive. And I remember my first year, the referees were calling all kinds of fouls and so forth, and I was real frustrated. And Jack Ramsey said, "Don't worry." He said, "Eventually they won't know the difference between a foul and just rough play. So they let a lot go by if you play that way, and you'd be surprised that pretty soon the referees ignore some of the contact."
That's good. Another good point, and a lot of fans would like to know. Do you think the referees protect certain players?
I think there's no question. I mean, last night we played Chicago and Michael Jordan. We were really giving the referees a hard time. So what are you protecting a rookie for? I mean, it's bad enough and of course they protect a Larry Bird and a Moses Malone because the fans in the arena are there to see him play. But when they're protecting a rookie, I think they're carrying it too far. And we wanted to make sure that the referees knew how we felt about that. But it happens, and that's part of the game.
Part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that happen in the college ranks, do you think?
Oh, I think it happens a little bit in the college ranks. It does, but in the college ranks you have one thing that's really prevalent in almost every game, and that is a volatile crowd. You know, if you go down to Chapel Hill or you come to Maryland, I mean, there's a crowd working there, and that has a subtle effect on the refereeing that goes on in the games. And I think as a result of that, you know, it's harder for them to protect an opposing star. I think if he's making fouls, they're going to call him because the home crowd is going to certainly put a lot of pressure on him to do so.
How do you see the NBA playoffs shaping up?
Well, if I had to pick my best team in the NBA or the best team we've played against, I would say that it looks like, you know, Boston is really the best basketball team in the league this year, and I don't know. It's hard to win a world championship, but I think they're as prepared as anyone. The only thing is they're a little short on the bench, and if they had a key injury, I think it could be critical to Boston.
Well, Tom, thanks for being with us. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Nice to be with you guys.
And we'll be back with some Mike Warren picks right after this.
How would you like to win a wonderful resort vacation in the Poconos or Catskills? Or 2 round-trip tickets to anywhere in the U.S. or Caribbean that Eastern Airlines flies, courtesy of World Travel Associates right here in Timonium. Premium Plus Club members have that chance exclusively in February. Why? Because they subscribe to 2 or more premium channels. It's a little plus from us at Caltech, the Premium Plus Club. Want more information? Just give us a call.
I'm in the body language. You shouldn't do that.
What does that mean?
That's a little insecure.
Really?
Yeah. Mustn't cover your mouth. Don't put it any place.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely positive?
I was sitting at a table one time at lunch, and 4 women were doing this, and I thought, what's wrong with me?
You probably intimidated them, as you intimidate most men.
Tell me. Tell me. But I finally found out how not to do that.
And?
Take your clothes off.
Phyllis Diller on Lifetime.
Now we got 6 basketball picks coming to you from Mike Warren, America's #1 handicapper. And, you know, one thing I want to mention about this, too, you know, Mike gives you his line. It's Mike Warren's line that you see on the screen each and every week. And that's kind of unique. I've been checking the Vegas line, and I've found out that Mike Warren's lines are better and more accurate and closer than the most of what you can get elsewhere. And I actually, Mike, you're not only an outstanding handicapper, you're also a superb lines maker. How important is the line?
Well, I don't think you can be a handicap without being a lines maker. I have to try to separate the teams, Team A from Team B, and I do it with a numerical rating, 4 points or 6 points or 1 point. And to be a good handicap, you have to be able to make that number, and that's what a lines maker does. So I think first I have to be a good lines maker, and secondly, of course, to be a better handicapper. And I think I do it well, both well. In all modesty.
I think you do too. Kansas at Nebraska is our first basketball game, and in this one, this is very interesting in that last week Kansas was soundly whipped by Michigan on national TV, and that was one of your top picks last week. You picked that one right on the nose. Now, what about this Kansas at Nebraska game this week?
Well, I hate to keep picking against Kansas. I'm going to make Nebraska, and this is not football, this is basketball. You know, Nebraska is great in football, but Nebraska is starting to play good basketball now. I'm going to make Nebraska a 4-point favorite at home, and I like them to whip Kansas at home. I like Nebraska to win the game by about 7 points.
Cool. That is interesting. Yeah. That is definitely an upset. Larry Brown's guys getting upset by Mo Iba. Okay, NC State at Wake Forest. Jim Valvano's team has really been playing well lately.
They won the last 3 games in a row, North Carolina State did, but they're playing at Wake Forest. I'm going to make Wake Forest a 1-point favorite at home because they really haven't played that well, but I think they're going to rise to the occasion. I look for them to beat North Carolina State by about 7 points.
Okay, now another Saturday game is Philadelphia at New Jersey in the pros, in the NBA.
Well, I'm going to put that game up. They're playing at New Jersey. I'm going to put the game up as a pick'em. I like Philadelphia to blow New Jersey away. They'll win by at least 10 points.
Okay. Sunday afternoon action on the college ranks, Illinois at Houston.
Well, Illinois is one of my favorite clubs, and Houston is not the Houston of old, of course. I like Illinois. I'm going to make the line at Houston. I'm going to make Illinois a 3-point favorite, and I like Illinois to win by any number they want to win by.
Arkansas at Georgetown, and we all know that Georgetown has tumbled from the #1 status and has been struggling lately, and we define what a Hoya is at the top of the show. How do you see this game?
Well, Georgetown lost the last 2 games, and they're playing at home. I have to make Georgetown at least a 13-point favorite. I like Arkansas to take that 13 points and take it to good advantage. They have a kid named Joe Klein who can play against Pat Ewing. I don't know if he can play as good as him, but he can keep him in check for a while. And I will definitely take the 13 points and look for Arkansas to upset against the number, not win the game, but beat the spread.
Beat the spread, okay. And then Marquette at Syracuse, the Orangemen who just upset Georgetown.
Well, Marquette at Syracuse, I'm going to make Syracuse a 10-point favorite at Syracuse because they're really playing great ball right now. Marquette isn't the team of old. I like Syracuse to beat Marquette by at least 15 points on a 10-point line, lay the 10 points and win the game.
Okay, so there you have it. Next up, Inside and Outside Sports, we're going to take a look at our Handicappers Clinic and some horse racing. Stay with us.
If you watch basketball on television and love the game the way I do, you'll want to join the Mike Warren TV Basketball Club. As a club member, you get the key picks in the hottest TV basketball games every week and other special bonuses. I've been winning on over 80% of my TV picks. Let me prove it to you. Call now, and I'll give you absolutely free my pick in the game between Notre Dame and UCLA that goes this Sunday. Call 1-800-638-6890. It's a free pick and a free call, so act right now, 1-800-638-6890.
Hi, I'm Billy Kilmer, and I made my reputation as a football quarterback. But I've been an all-around sports fan all my life. That's why my Billy Kilmer Sports Service cares about all kinds of sports. I had to be good at throwing a football. I'm just as proud of my record of picking winners. Now, you can profit from my experience, and it won't cost you a dime to find out how. Call me toll-free now at 1-800-638-3893. That number again is 1-800-638-3893.
Before we get to Mike's blue ribbon picks from the track, we're going to, this week on our Handicappers Clinic, feature horse racing. And the word is, what is a shoeboard?
A shoeboard is very important, and not enough tracks put that information up. You know, horses don't run without shoes, and it's very important now. If the track is off, horses that are wearing mud caulks or caulks can grab a hold of the track better and run better. And without that information, it's very difficult for a handicapper to really handicap the race correctly. And I cannot handicap any race when it's off, or even on a turf when it's off, without knowing what shoes the horse is wearing.
And how can they get that kind of information if they don't know?
There's a place for it at the racetrack, and if the racetrack doesn't give it to its customers, then I advise every handicapper goes to the racetrack to ask the racing secretary for that information. You must get it to handicap, or else it doesn't pay to go to the racetrack.
Good. Now for our blue ribbon picks. Why don't you hold that?
I hope I pick some winners with this blue ribbon pick.
Okay, especially those ones we had last week. The Orchard Handicap Saturday at Gulfstream Park, Mike. $100,000 for 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares, turf, 1/116th mile.
Well, there's two horses I like in this race, and my first selection would be a horse named Key Dancer. I think it'll be about 4 or 5 to 1, and my long shot in the race would be a horse named Burst of Colors. And between those two, if I'm right like I was last week, we should make a lot of money here, and I think it will be right.
Okay, the Black Gold Handicap at Fairgrounds, $25,000, 3-year-olds for 6 furlongs.
I'm going to pick a horse named Explosive Pond to be first, and he's going to be a big price horse. I would say about 8, 9 to 1. And second, a horse named Prince Lightfoot. Between those two, again, we should be right on the money. I look to make a lot of money at these tracks around the country this week, too. I feel real good about it.
All right, moving right along, the Rare Treat Handicap at Aqueduct.
Well, Aqueduct is always the best place to handicap because they do have some of the best horses. The 1/8 race, the horse I like best is a horse named Flip's Pleasure. Should be the favorite in the race. And second, I like a horse named Sweet Mrs. So those two will get the money.
Can't go wrong with Sweet Mrs. Why is it Aqueduct is always the best place?
Well, they have the best horses because they give the most money and the track's the best horses, and the horses who are the best keep the best form. You know, horses that are not that good don't keep the best form. It's easy for a handicapper to handicap the best horses as opposed to claiming horses.
Okay, the Chesapeake Handicap at Laurel, 3-year-olds and up, 6 furlongs, 25 grand.
From the information I can get from the racing secretary this time, the horse I like best is the horse named Never Sigh at CYE, and second, Ultra Mate. And these two horses, if I am right here, this should be a real big payoff at Laurel.
Okay, and Mike gave you a real big payoff last week, so you can't go wrong. Listen to Mike Warren, America's favorite handicapper. And we come back, we'll catch some of the mail from those of you out there that you sent to Mike, and we'll take a look at our 10 words or less. Stay with us. Over the years, Mike Warren has busted many Las Vegas bookies with his money-winning picks. Winning should be a celebration, so Mike has created now these special Bookie Buster T-shirts, which Mike wants to give you absolutely free. All you have to do is call 1-800-638-6890, and Mike will send you a free Bookie Busters T-shirt, without Kim, of course. The T-shirt is free, and so is the call, so act now. Call 1-800-638-6890.
Hi, I'm Billy Kilmer, and I made my reputation as a football quarterback. But I've been an all-around sports fan all my life. That's why my Billy Kilmer Sports Service cares about all kinds of sports. I had to be good at throwing a football. I'm just as proud of my record of picking winners. Now, you can profit from my experience, and it won't cost you a dime to find out how. Call me toll-free now at 1-800-638-3893. That number again is 1-800-638-3893.
Now it's time to take a look at our mail that we received from all of you last week. First off, from Steve Maccabee in Hagerstown, Maryland. Steve writes, Dear Mike, I really like your show, but it's becoming addictive. Could you give me your picks for the 1988 presidential election? Keep picking, Mike, and I'll keep grinning.
That's easy. Don't use Reagan. I know I won't be wrong there.
And from Russell McDan in Durham, North Carolina. Russell writes, Dear Mike, I'm becoming a handicapping fanatic. Thanks for your help.
Thanks for listening, Russell.
And we thank all of you for your mail, and we encourage your mail. We want to get your mail each and every week. Please drop us a line, whether it's positive or negative, and you'll receive a copy of one of the following books that you see there just by driving us a line to Inside and Outside Sports, P.O. Box 32059, Baltimore, Maryland 21208. And also, in addition to those Mike Warren publications, you will receive a Bookie Busters T-shirt absolutely free, and you can't beat that.
Right.
Okay. Now it's time for 10 words or less.
This is the toughest part of the show every week.
And this is unrehearsed, as I've said. I had to give him a hint or two this week because I wasn't feeling all that well, so as a result, I had to give him a hint or two so he could help me along with this. The first one, Dick Vitale, the former coach of the Detroit Pistons.
He's an announcer now, and he's doing quite a good job. He's a good critic, but it's easy to be a critic.
He seems to be the kind of critic, though, too, I've noticed that he may criticize somebody and then doesn't really stick to his guns and then says, but he's a good friend of mine.
Well, it's in the Howard Cosell vein, which wasn't my favorite critic.
Okay. Terry Holland, coach of the Virginia Cavaliers.
I think Terry's been in the hospital sick for a while. I wish him the best of luck and get well soon. He's a heck of a coach.
You don't think he's been in the hospital because he doesn't know what to do without Ralph these days?
He knows what to do. He has fine boys there. These kids are all bright to go to Virginia. This is not a dumb school. And he's a bright coach, and I think his club will always be there or thereabouts.
Bernard King of the New York Knicks.
A heck of a basketball player, and I think he's one of the greatest in the game right now.
Al McGuire.
One of my favorite people. I just like the way he talks. I like the way he coaches. I like the way he announces. I just like his whole shtick. I like his whole bag. He can hang around with me anytime. Al, wherever you are, you want to hang around with me. If you have no friends, I'll take you along.
There's a guy that's a lot like you. He's a lot like you. Good street sense. Got a grip and a hold on things.
But he's old.
That's the other thing. He's a little bit older. Chris Mullen.
Now, that's a young kid with a future. I like his style. He can do anything well. I like him. He's a winner.
What about these guys that think that he can't play pro basketball?
Can play pro basketball?
Well, some of the scouts say maybe he's not fast enough, maybe he's not tall enough, silly little things like that.
Well, if Doug Flutie doesn't make it and Chris Mullen doesn't make it, I'm going to get a job being a critic like these other people, not a handicapper. He can make it. They both can make it.
Okay, Doug Flutie's signing with the New Jersey Generals, United States Football League.
Well, you got to go where the money is. You're not playing for fun. It's a pro ball and you play for money. Doug Flutie's going to be a credit to any team he plays for, both as on the field and off the field. And I think Chris Mullen's in the same vein. They're both great athletes, and it's good to see them in pro ball. I'm going to enjoy watching them play. And so are you.
Absolutely. All right, and finally, the coach of the University of Maryland, Lefty Driesell.
I like Lefty. We had a former player for Maryland here, and he told you that Lefty's a good coach. I think Lefty's a fine coach. He's a great recruiter, and he's going to be a better coach, and he does the best of what he can with the talent he has, and he's in the ACC, which is very hard to win all the time, and he's good. I like Lefty. A lot of people knock him, but I think the knocks are not warranted. I think he's a damn good coach.
So there you go. Mike Warren's a combination of Al McGuire and Lefty Driesell. Blue ribbon all the way. We want to thank you for being with us this week on Inside and Outside Sports. See you next week. So long, everybody.
Advertising opportunities are available through Image Development and Marketing Incorporated. This has been a production of Mike Warren Sports.
KBL-TV Channel 10 is controversial, entertaining, enlightening, adventurous, humorous, tasty, tantalizing, electrifying, informative, and completely unpredictable.